All right, well, welcome back. We continue live with the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown here, and we have an interesting debate going on about now the run game. We ended that first segment with that. Paul and Andrew, I want to get your take on that, starting with you, Paul. James Conner has not put up good numbers when he's in there. He missed 2 weeks with COVID. Whoever who has been in there has not put up good numbers. But again, the first 6 games totally different than the last 7 games. What's been the difference in your mind? Why has it been largely ignored?
A commitment. That's what it really comes down to me. A commitment to trying to be good at running the football. On the fan, we've got Chris Hoke and some of these ex-Steelers that, come in and do shows or whatever with our guys. And they all say the same thing. I mean, you can't be good at running the football unless you're committed to really trying to do it. And when you have a quarterback who calls his own number all the time, I mean, it's really hard to be committed, and then you're in shotgun all the time. It's hard to be, and again, I agree with Richie. I mean, I think the Steelers running backs for the most part are average, but they should be better than they are, and they should have better opportunities than they do. I think that's the biggest thing to me is the Steelers just aren't committed to it. And the one thing, who was it today that was talking about the Steelers, that they have 196 passing attempts in the last 4 games. Of course, they haven't called 196 passing plays from the booth, which means Ben is doing a whole lot of audibling and calling his own number.
Yeah, that was on CBS today. I think it's a cluster, and there's another word I want to put at the end of that, but we're regulated by the Federal Communications Commission, even though it is getting close to midnight. You know what I think it is too, Bob, is that just like last year, they couldn't run the ball effectively with Duck Hodges and Mason Rudolph in there. And I know I don't want to lump Ben Roethlisberger in with those 2 quarterbacks, but the safeties don't play deep. You're now facing a defense that is creeping closer to the line of scrimmage because they don't think that they're going to get beat over the top. It's a numbers game. It's math. And, there are only a few running backs in the NFL that can run into that and still be productive. The Titans have one. Derrick Henry. The Giants do. When Saquon Barkley's healthy, you could probably say the same thing about Christian McCaffrey. James Conner and the Steelers running backs are not cut from that cloth. They are not, against a loaded box, going to be able to make plays. Sorry.
Rich, you have any more of that, or do you want to?
I think they should never hand the ball off to Jalen Samuels ever again for the rest of the season.
Well, that's the other part of this story is that you would think even when they went pass happy in the second half that Conner helps in protection and you can dump the ball off to him. And he got 3 snaps in the second half of the game, which was wild.
Which is interesting to me also, though, when you talk about like last week, on one of the most important plays of the game, this is about who's on the field at critical times. Yeah. Anthony McFarland is the recipient of a 4th and 1 wheel route, which is a really difficult play for, I think, an established receiver.
And he got scratched tonight.
What's that? They scratched him. He got scratched. So he's not even in the lineup tonight, but he was the guy they were looking to make one of the most important plays of the game. Rich, that doesn't make sense.
Speaking of a bad throw, there was a bad throw right there.
Okay, but the fact is, he's a rookie. You're expecting him to do that in that situation. They have other guys who've been around who are probably more adept at that. To me, that's a personnel issue, too.
No question.
Who's on the field at the wrong time?
I sometimes think coaches try to outcoach themselves. Put your best guys on the field, right? Let's try to win with our best guys. Line up. Put your best receivers out there if you're going to throw the ball. Don't try to trick anyone and see if they can beat someone. That's what I would do in a situation like that. I mean, you're going to throw to Anthony McFarland? Some of the things that they do, I scratch my head, right? I mean, come on.
But again, taking James Conner out of it's not like you're taking Thurman Thomas out of the game. It's not like you're taking some super. I can understand where they're coming from. They're trying to get a spark.
But Jalen Samuels.
I agree. But the whole point is, I think they're looking for somebody to step up and really take control of that running back spot. The problem is they really don't give an opportunity for those guys to really do that because they don't run the ball enough.
Right. And
what happened to the sweeps with Claypool, Deontay Johnson? He's your playmaker. He can't catch, but maybe he can run a sweep, right? Hand it off to him.
Well, they did a couple of that, but they've deviated altogether here from run plays, no matter how you're looking at a formation right. So when we come back, I want to switch it up. We're going to talk about the defense and also big picture, but the defense played well in the first half. And then I thought the Steelers got out-coached in the second half because Buffalo figured out what the Steelers were doing in their blitzing schemes, and all of a sudden, Josh Allen comes out and goes 10 for 10 for his first 10 passes. They won that game, and they earned it on every level. We'll talk about that and more as we continue live right here. It's the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown on KDKA.